The following is a Spirit Street production.
Man, a lot of news going on with the Big 12 right now. Private equity firms possibly trying to buy in, selling off the naming rights. A lot of news that we need to talk about. A lot of things that still need to be decided. Not sure that all of this is good news like some people like to think for the Big 12. A lot of money, but there could be some big consequences. We're going to get in that today. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
All right, everybody. This is the Big 12 Insiders. Welcome back again. This is Brien Hanley, Big B, along with Tim Fitzgerald with 24/7 GoPowercat Fitz. How is it going today, my man?
I have sold 20% of myself to, well, nobody wants to buy that. It's good. It's good. I got a cold, so I'm currently doing the cough drop thing, so my apologies.
No, it's just fine. Look, a lot of news happened near the end of last week. We had some difficulties, so we apologize for why we weren't on, but we're like we said, we're making some changes to some stuff, so things will be good from here on out. Yeah. We hope. But having said that, yeah. the Big 12, the big word is that naming rights possibly being sold, private equity firms getting involved in college athletics. That was a rumor a couple of months back that they were going to start buying into conferences. Apparently, it's a little bit more than a rumor now that's something that very well might happen. So, Fitz, I guess my first question or thought is, let's attack the naming rights thing.
Okay.
Is it a good idea if the Big 12, and would people even notice or make it a big deal if it wasn't called the Big 12 anymore, if they made a change from that?
Well, here's what I love about this. We've asked Brett Yormark and the ADs, are you going to stick with 12? I mean, You're never going to be 12 again. Never. Unless something weird goes down. You're going to be 16 or even 20. Then why are you staying in the Big 12? Well, it's branded, it's recognizable, and known. Okay. A couple months later, we might sell it because we can make a buck. It's not that important. I mean, come on. It's one or the other. And as someone pointed out, just a Twitter account making a reply, well, if you're going to change the name, get rid of the 12.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about a name that still includes an inaccurate number if you're changing it?
Right.
And but again, I don't understand sometimes what the decisions leadership makes, but I think it's going to happen. I think having a partner kind of buy out your name like a bowl game. Unfortunately, it's ugly. I don't like it, but that's where these conferences are. And again, it proves my point. It wasn't that valuable a name, and you're willing to change it for a buck, then do it.
Right. Well, and it'll take some getting used to, just like the bowl games. If people didn't like it, I was one of those people. I didn't like it. But after a while, it didn't really matter. And then if you're just talking, I think a lot of times people bend things out of shape, Fitz. It's like the Fiesta Bowl. If you want to talk about the Fiesta Bowl, people weren't saying, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. That's just not what they did. Yeah, you understood that was the sponsor, but you're talking about the Fiesta Bowl, you said the Fiesta Bowl. You're talking about the Cotton Bowl, you said the Cotton Bowl. Whatever. So it'll take some getting used to. But just like anything else, it'll be the same thing. Oh, and by the way, I would be willing to guarantee, Fitz, whatever the name gets changed to, most people are still going to call it the Big 12. They're just not going to change. So I wouldn't be so bent out of shape, certain people that are going to be upset about this. I wouldn't be, because, again, you're going to call it what you want to call it anyway. So I don't think that's a big deal. I do think it's weird that they're just hamstrung. We got to keep the 12, because that's what I heard. They're going to get rid of the big, but they're going to keep the 12. And just like you mentioned, I just don't understand that. That just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. And they're talking to Allstate. Apparently, I've got no problem with Allstate, even though I grew up in a State Farm household, and now I'm an American Family guy. If Allstate wants to pay, okay,
right.
But Big B, let's be honest. This is a huge missed opportunity if this doesn't become the Flying J Truck Stop Conference. The marketing's already been done. The name identity's there. I mean, we could do pilot truck stop conference. I don't care,
yeah.
but I think it's there, and I'm willing to go that direction. I think
Yeah.
that's worth the inside joke of that is wonderful.
I don't know, man. There's so many different things. I'm just wondering what kind of name. And then again, let's just say that the naming rights last for, I don't know, let's call it 10. Well, it'll be longer than 10 years. Let's say 20 years. Then you're going to change the name again if it changes again. I'm like, so that's what we're just going to keep doing. I don't know. To me, Fitz, it seems like the Big 12 would be, look, we're not the SEC. We're not the Big 10. Okay, we're not those conferences. But if you want to take yourself seriously, you got to have a daggone name. And if you sell the naming rights and you keep doing that, how is anybody else supposed to take you seriously if you can't even come up and keep a name? You know what I mean? It just, at some point, we got to say enough is enough. Okay, but just we got to have a name. That just seems weird to me. It seems crazy.
And how much is it worth?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it'd be worth that much.
No.
I mean, 16 million a year, everyone gets $1 million to change the name of your conference.
Absolutely not.
That doesn't seem worth it. I do want to point this out. If they do go with Allstate, a Kansas State student named John Grove, he's John Grove 02 on Twitter, came up with the only acceptable name because we know it's one of the Allstate's big campaigns. And what's it like to compete in the Big 12? Well, it's mayhem. The Mayhem 12, sponsored by Allstate, is the only right answer in reality.
Yes.
I can get behind the name Mayhem 12. Even if they stop sponsoring it, I think it still sticks. It applies to what it's like in football and basketball to try to get through the season in this conference because it's utter mayhem.
Absolutely. Could not agree with you more. It's that football and basketball is just absolute madness, mayhem. That's got to be the name. I mean, if we're going to change it and it's going to be that, then just lean into it. Let's just lean into this thing because, like I mentioned before, I go, at some point you got to stand on something. Well, if you can't get the name right, at least get this part of it right and just lean into the craziness and make it stick.
The art's even beautiful. Johnny did a great job. I like the bold lettering. It says something. You got some shading in there because this whole thing's kind of shady. I love it. Look, it is what it is. I assume this is going to happen. I'm confident this one's going to happen.
Right.
The other one we're going to talk about, and I'm not as confident of, but this one seems like, they're going to sell their name. They're just, again, they're not that attached to the Big 12. They're the 12. God, someone explain that to me in our comments on this video. Please explain to me the value of keeping the 12. Why not go back to 8? I mean, that's a longer standing name.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't, but whatever. It just, I'll be flat out honest with you. I thought it was odd back when the conference first was formed that they called it the Big 12. I know there were 12 teams, but I'm thinking, that's too close to the Big 10. Why are we doing this? There wasn't any other name or anything that we could come up with. It didn't seem original then. And now that there seem to be hell bent on keeping the 12, I don't know.
I know. I mean, why not be the Mayhem 16? And if you expand more, be the Mayhem 20.
Right.
Let's be accurate if we're going to be, whores and sell off ourselves to a sponsor.
Yeah. And you're right about they're going to do it. That is absolutely going to happen. Doesn't seem like enough money, but I guess at the same time, if there's a quick way for the conference to get a buck, I guess that's just what you do, just for the simple fact, hey, we got to come up with some money to help or whatever we can do to stay relevant. I don't think the Big 12 is going away, but whatever they need to do to try to, to me, it's a gimmick. Just flat out, it's a gimmick. I don't like it, but you're right, Fitz. It's going to happen. So.
I mean, if every school got like $5 million a year and it was $80 million a year, okay, maybe, but there's no way they can get that much.
Correct.
I mean, that's over a 10-year contract. That's $800 million.
Not happening.
Not happening. Someone else is willing to offer that kind of money, Big B, or more to the conference.
Absolutely. So we'll take a quick break here. We'll get into that on the other side of this. One word from our sponsor from Synergy Financial Partners, and we will be right back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the vision is to build the world's largest consumer financial education and empowerment company. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's return to Studio 73.
All right. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Again, this is Brien Hanley with Tim Fitzgerald. So, all right. So the Big 12 conference, we just talked about naming rights. Well, they also possibly are going to be dabbling in to private equity. There was a couple of rumors a couple of months back that might be something that maybe the NCAA got into, the private equity firms and selling off and athletic departments individually. Well, you just knew it was just a matter of time before the word that a conference may do that. Well, that is something that has come into play here, Fitz. That there have been reports that the Big 12 might very well be in negotiations with a private equity firm. I'll just be the first to say it before you make any comments. I think it is a horrible idea if this were to happen. Absolutely horrible. It would set a terrible precedent. If this were to happen, look, private equity. I'm not saying that private equity firms are a bad thing, because I don't believe that. Number one, I think they're a good thing. Some people don't like what they do. At the same time, it's business. And, I understand business. Business is what it is. Sometimes it's messy. Big 12 gets into that business, it's going to get messy. And they will eventually have this thing taken away from them, because that's what is going to happen. So
that's what
I'll leave it at that and then let you comment from there.
Yeah, if you do the math, I come to the conclusion. Look, I understand that a lot of these schools, Kansas State, included, and certainly plenty others in this conference, are going to have problems handling the House versus NCAA settlement of roughly $20 million a school up front, which they can, get a state loan for that and pay it out, cover it over a 10-year period. And then you're going to have to pay like 22 million a year for revenue sharing for your student athletes. I get it. I mean, you can get that covered right away with this investment. So what we're talking about is CBC Capital out of Luxembourg. Never been there. In fact, only 3 people have ever been to Luxembourg. It's that small. That's all that can go. CV and C are currently there, so none of us can go. It's $800 million to $1 billion cash infusion to the conference, and that would buy them a 15 to 20% stake in the conference. Brien, we're talking about it's going to be about $9.8 million a year each school will have to give up if they go for the $1 billion 20%. I want you to think about that. Can you imagine cutting your budget by nearly $10 million a year, because they're going to take that much out of your revenue? They're going to own 20% of the conference revenue, and the money you're getting in exchange, a lot of it's going to be exhausted early.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as they get past that 10-year mark, they're in a profit. I mean, it might even be 9 years, depending on what the next media rights deal brings. And that's what they think. They've looked at this. They're no dummies. They think the Big 12 is undervalued, and they certainly believe in Brett Yormark's basketball plan to break that out in a separate contract. They obviously think that will become a bigger player and increase the revenues.
Right.
But it sounds like unless it's more than a 20% increase in revenues, which it could be, that money's just going to go to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you start doing the math, you're like, in 10 years, they're just going to be draining you of money over and over. And what happens to you? The schools are like, oh, we can't get by on this now in this competitive atmosphere. We're still behind the Big Ten and SEC. what do? Let's sell another 20%. And, within 20, 30 years, maybe you're banking that college athletics won't exist. I don't know, but they're going to own your soul once they get to 51%.
Yes.
And that's what they do. And then you know what? They start cutting expenses like crazy and start gutting the very product. And that's what they've done across all business. It's all about a bottom line profit to private equity investment. That's all it is. What gets us the most money right now? And they don't really think about the sustainable, things that you have to do. Like in newspapers, you got to have news gatherers, you got to have journalists, and they fired them all once private equity got in there. And now newspapers are, for the most part, what they are. And, a lot of daily local papers now are just advertising circulars. And that's what private equity wants because they can make the most money.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it will be. Look, we've talked several times on the Big 12 Insiders about how college athletics has always been a business. I mean, there's never been a time where it was not a business. The difference is that it used to be that the athletics was on the forefront of most people's minds. Now it is not. Money is on the forefront of most people's minds. I'm not saying that everybody wasn't thinking about the money. I'm just talking about people in general. When you thought about college athletics, the first thing you thought about was football or basketball. That's what most people thought about. Now it's NIL, transfer portal, TV contracts. That's disheartening to a lot of people, Fitz. And you start dealing with private equity, that's all anybody's ever going to be worried about is money and the bottom dollar. If that's what this has come to, I'm sorry. I've been a proponent for so long of saying this stuff hasn't ruined college athletics. Private equity firms get involved, it ruins college athletics. It'll be over.
Yeah, someone pushed the snowball downhill, and we didn't expect the hill to be this steep and it would go so fast and get so big and just kind of start running over people. But that's exactly what has happened now. And again, I always need to remind viewers or listeners this was all set in motion by court rulings.
Right.
What are they doing to college athletics? Well, they're doing what the courts told them that they have to do. Now, I do agree the NCAA is not being proactive enough in trying to counter this. They've just kind of said, okay, the courts don't like us. They're going to overrule. So we're just going to let it go. And it's, people are paying players out right now. There's no NIL involved. The transfer portal is chaotic. It's nuts. And now they've got these huge payments that'll be due to a group of student athletes who didn't get their money back when they were in college. Well, those are the rules, and you signed up under those rules. I don't understand why the NCAA really hasn't pushed this and try to appeal it, but they haven't. They're just trying to settle everything and make it go away. Well, the make it go away is going to slowly kill a lot of institutions in athletics and a lot of sports. And the other side of it is if you fight it and lose, maybe all sports are going to go away. So they're kind of just chopping off a leg. So they still have a leg to stand on. And, it's just not going to ever be the same. And I don't know if the product's going to be what people want to consume on a regular basis.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I have the pushback, because although it's changing and although most people don't like it, when they throw the ball up and they kick the football off, a lot of people forget about a lot of that stuff, which again, I don't disagree, because I do too. But as long as you can put a fairly decent product out there, people are going to still watch. Now, the difference is what are schools? What are they going to look like? What are teams going to look like? What's all that stuff going to be? And that's a different conversation. How many sports are there going to be, and how many teams are? I've even heard talks, Fitz, they're going to raise the football scholarship number back up to 100 scholarships. I'm like, how are you going to do that? I go, that's impossible with what's going on in today's market. There's no way you could do that. But if you cut other sports, sure. There's absolutely a way. And I'm just like, man, this has gone this far. It's weird to me, but what are you going to do, my man? These are the times, Fitz.
I know.
These are the times.
It's absolute insanity, but I don't if you're an AD and you probably know you're not going to be in this job for more than 10 years, why wouldn't you be in favor of this?
Right.
It'll make your life easier, at least over the next 5 years. It'll certainly pay the bills next year when you have this big bill come due. Then kick that can down the road and let someone else figure out what to do with it. I can see the conference doing that.
Yeah.
But I also fall back on this. I think Brett Yormark is a smart guy. He knows what he's getting into with private equity. And so I think there's more to this play than what we're seeing. We're just being told about, the numbers.
Right.
But I mean, again, private equity is an investor, and they're not investing in a product that isn't elite. And so there must be more to this that helps boost the conference.
That's right. Because again, private equity firms, their number one job is to make money, and they're not going to invest in something if they don't think that it's a winner. That's
right.
Just not what they do. So for people that think that the Big 12 would be going away, this actually is a good sign, Fitz, that the private equity firm is interested because, hey, it's going away. Well, no, it's not. Not if a private equity is getting involved. They don't think that it's going away anytime soon. So just keep that in mind, folks. We're going to take one quick final break before we end the show from our sponsor, Synergy Financial Group. We will be right back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the mission is to change the way Americans plan for their financial future. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's return to Studio 73.
All right, Fitz. So, we talked a little bit about the naming rights. We talked a little bit about private equity, kind of where the conference is at. I think the naming rights thing, I actually am going to lean into it. I think it can be fun if they do it the right way. It's not going to be a ton of money per school, but you know what? Maybe that's the route that the Big 12 needs to go. I don't want it to be gimmicky, but at the same time, I just think lean into it. Lean into, hey, you know what? This is who we are. This is what we're going to do. It's okay to be somewhat of the outsider when it comes to that. Private equity, yeah, I got a different opinion about that. I don't think that's good at all.
I think that's scary.
Yeah, you go down that road, I think you're asking for trouble. But
I mean, honestly, you sell your name rights and it doesn't work. You just get with the investor or the advertiser, go, this isn't working. We got to change it. Private equity, once you go into that pool, you're not getting out.
That's right.
And but I'm not a big fan of Allstate being the sponsor because it's kind of a stoic, not very exciting brand. They've done a good job with their Mayhem campaign. So if they wrap that in, I'm for it. But I go back to this. I still hate the naming rights of bowl games because they do change so often. We're told, again, just like the leadership of the Big 12, this is an important name. This is a historical name. Oh, we can make a buck by selling it. Okay. Same thing with bowl games, right?
Right.
But if they find a sponsor like the Pop-Tarts Bowl that really leans into it, makes it fun.
Yes.
And look, next year, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, first of all, this year's game had huge ratings for a non-New Year's Day 6. And next year with the right teams, it's going to be even bigger.
Yeah.
That is going to quickly become one of the premier non-playoff bowls.
Absolutely.
Period. So if you can find that magical sequence with a sponsor, don't ask me who. Again, the Flying J Truck Stop Conference sounds pretty good to me. Just lean into it and have fun with it. And I think it can help. But boy, it better be worth the money at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for taking time to check out our new, I don't know if it's new and improved, Fitz, but it's just our new version of the show. We're shutting down a little bit for the summer. We're cutting it back to the 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you guys make sure that one thing that you do, always remember to like, follow, comment, more importantly, bring up questions, all that good stuff. Because again, on Thursdays, we're going to have Ask Big B Day. So we need as many comments as possible.
Exactly. During the Tuesday, Wednesday shows, drop questions for Thursday in the comments.
Yep.
Please do, so that we have your questions, because you guys will bring up some great topics that we probably wouldn't think of even addressing. So throw that at us. We'll be back, with 4 or even 5 days in the fall. But for the summer, we're going to back off. And again, all the old shows are stored on the GoPowercat channel, because YouTube views them as the owner, since they monetized it. My site over there monetized it. And now all new shows will be on this channel as we attempt to monetize here, but we can't because we were stealing the content from my other channel. So I was stealing from myself, apparently, according to YouTube. It's hard to do.
Hard to do. It is what it is. So we appreciate everybody out there. Thank you guys again for the support. We're over the 1,000 subscriber mark. So like I mentioned, let's try to get to 1,500 before the season starts. Appreciate everybody's support. Thank you guys, and we will see you later.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.